John and I are off on another adventure today. Today we are doing the Ringling Museum here in Sarasota. And we are going to today go to the Circus Museum and to the winter home of John and Mabel Ringling. Okay, here we are at the entrance to the big show. Of course, John Ringling was known as one of the founders of the greatest show on earth. Unlike anything you've ever seen, this 3,800 square foot model depicts the American tented circus in its golden age. The circus traveled with over 1,300 workers and performers and 800 animals and all the equipment needed to put on a performance. In a season, the show could travel up to 15,000 miles and perform in 150 towns. The circus day began before most people got out of bed. By 3 a.m., the first of the 4 sections of the massive circus train arrived in town. Called the Flying Squadron, this section carried the equipment and men to lay out the circus lot and set up the cooking tents. The cookhouse was the very first tent set up on the circus lot. Before sunrise, workers had the tent erected and breakfast cooking. Soon the air was filled with the smell of hot cake, sausage, and eggs. The Ringling Cookhouse prepared food for 1,300 workers and performers 3 times daily. The hotel flag was raised over the dining tent to signal to the workers, staff, and performers that it was mealtime. Each person with the circus had a designated seat at a table set with china plates, silverware, a water pitcher, condiments, and bread. To feed all the personnel, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the waiters would serve 3,900 meals daily.
Some of the performers have a problem.
From the front lot, visitors made their way to the main entrance. Here, the mass of people funneled through 5 gates as ticket tellers collected their paper ticket stubs. Although the marquee advertised this way to the big show, visitors actually found themselves entering the menagerie tent. For many Americans, the circus was the first place that they saw animals from other continents. Along with the expected elephants, lions, and zebras, visitors found hippopotami, giraffes, and even polar bears. Other exotic animals that might be seen in the menagerie included macaws and kangaroos. Fittingly, the performance tent, the largest of all the tents on the lot, was commonly referred to as the Big Top. The rising of the tent was an amazing act of skill, coordination, and practice. In less than 4 hours, the 6 center poles, 74 quarter poles, 122 sidewall poles, 550 stakes, and 26,000 yards of canvas became the Big Top, the centerpiece of the circus lot. Seating in the big top could accommodate as many as 15,000 people. The folding chairs along the length of the tent were reserved seats and were more expensive than the general admission bleacher seats, located along the curved ends of the tent. The Wisconsin Railroad Car. The great success of the Ringling Circus in the early years of the 20th century was paralleled by important events in the business and personal life of John Ringling. The brothers successfully negotiated a routing agreement with their greatest rival, James Bailey, and John began branching out his investments into railroads, oil, and real estate. On the personal front, John Ringling married Mabel Burton in Hoboken, New Jersey on December 29, 1905. The Wisconsin, the private railroad car that John purchased from the Pullman Company in 1905, was the ultimate symbol of his success. From 1905 until 1916, this car transported the Ringlings across the country for business and pleasure. As the advance man, John traveled ahead of the circus train, planning the route and making deals for provisions. Occasionally, he would cross the path of the circus train, and the Wisconsin would join the train for some of his travels. John and Mabel Ringling also traveled for pleasure on the Wisconsin. The car carried them to Baraboo for family gatherings and allowed them to host friends and family on cross-country journeys. It was this rail car that brought the Ringlings to Florida in 1911 to finalize the purchase of the Bayfront property in Sarasota. New articles of the day described the quiet elegance of the car and made mention of the modern conveniences, including electric lights and fans throughout, as well as the well-stocked refrigerator. Today, the grandeur of the restored Wisconsin Railroad car is a reminder of the great success of John Ringling, as well as the luxury enjoyed by the titans of the Gilded Age. So now we are getting ready to take a tour of John and Mabel Ringling's winter estate here in Sarasota. The house is named Kadazan, which means House of John. Yep, that was their swimming pool.
John Ringling, like many entrepreneurs, diversified his business interests. He built a business empire that made him one of the richest men in America and included holdings in ranching, oil, railroads, and real estate. In 1905, John married Mabel Burton. John was 39 and Mabel was 30. The couple traveled regularly to Europe, scouting for circus acts, acquiring art for the museum they were planning, and collecting ideas that would inspire Kadazan. The Ringlings first visited the southwest coast of Florida in 1909, and 2 years later bought an estate right here on this property. The estate was then known as Palms Elysian, and it included an existing home. The Ringlings enjoyed winters at Palms Elysian for over a decade. By the 1920s, John Ringling saw the potential to develop Sarasota into a world-class destination. John's ambitious plans involved building a new, impressive house as a showplace on Sarasota Bay. The shape of the coffer ceiling is inspired by Moorish design, while the painted ornament is based on Italian aesthetic. The ceiling gives the appearance of being hand-carved wood, but it is actually molded plaster painted by the artist Robert Webb Jr. Remember that during this time, Prohibition was in full effect, but wealthy people like the Ringlings were still well supplied with wine and spirits. There are numerous salvaged architectural fragments and paneling incorporated throughout Kadazan, and John may have purchased elements of the bar here from Chicardi's Winter Garden, a restaurant in St. Louis, Missouri, before it was demolished in 1925. He also designed a ceiling mural for the third-floor game room of Kadazan, featuring imaginative vignettes of revelers at Venetian Carnival. Here, the fanciful depiction of world cultures on the ceiling speaks to the broader trend in American high-style interior decoration for cosmopolitanism. At this time, it was fashionable for wealthy patrons to commission themed decoration to show how worldly and well-traveled they were. These dancers include mythological characters inspired by ancient antiquity and a range of international dancers wearing traditional cultural costumes. Although the court is an enclosed space protected from the elements, natural light floods into the room from the glass roof above. The architectural terracotta on the balcony and cornices are the same materials used on the exterior of the house, and they were originally created at the factory of O.W. Ketchum Terracotta Works in Pennsylvania. Venetian-inspired motifs painted by Robert Webb Jr. on the Pecky cypress ceiling give a sense of old-world charm to a then-new home. The distinctive texture seen on the Pecky cypress wood naturally occurs when a fungus attacks a tree, forming holes from the inside of the trunk outward. You can see an array of her china displayed in these cabinets. They include Wedgwood from England and a beautiful Tiffany luncheon set.
And this would have been their view. Except for, yeah, there wasn't all those places out there. All those buildings.